I would like to thank you for your service contribution in making Canada a better place. Sincerely, Navdeep Bains. And he also sent a certificate of recognition to all of you for being here. And I'll just quickly read that. Presented to Sharing Rich Traditions as the Member of Parliament for Mississauga, Brampton South, I would like to recognize and congratulate you on the occasion of South Asian Heritage Month. Your continued contribution to the community is appreciated and commendable. Thank you, Mr. Bains. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sandy. And for those of you who are wondering, those young ladies you saw dancing, we hope you were taking good notes, because after all the speeches and all the talk, we want you to model them. We want you to get out there and make some moves, as we say. So that's how we're going to keep healthy. That's what the doctors have been trying to tell us. We've got to dance more. If you want to eat all that sweet stuff, and we want to eat all that good stuff, we got to dance more. All right. My job this evening is to introduce our guest speaker, one of our many guest speakers, and in particular, when I read on the Toronto Star that there was a new South Asian fellow coming to Mississauga as the principal of the University of Toronto, Mississauga, I was very elated. I was very happy to see a South Asian person at that high level at our university in Mississauga. But before I go to introduce him, I just want to make some introductory remarks. About 2,010 years ago, a fellow walked on water. He took 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread and fed the multitudes. How many people know who that guy was? Anybody? Nobody knows. All right. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. And so the fable goes. Nobody asked how he did it. Everybody sort of accepted it. Well, in 1943, a young man was born in India. In 1968, he came to New Jersey, New York, as a medical doctor. Had a very prosperous medical degree, profession, did very, very well, but was very unsatisfied. He moved to California and started up something new. Anybody know who that guy was? He started up an organization talking about the spirit, the body, and the mind. And he started to talk about Ayurvedic medicine. Does anybody know who that guy was? Deepak Chopra. Now everybody knows that Deepak Chopra kind of explains to the rest of the world, us North Americans, what Indian philosophy and how that deals with the mind and the body and the soul and what the connection is. Doesn't he? Yeah, I think so. Well, let me tell you, a few weeks ago, my wife came to me and said, Chris, you got to take the passion test. I thought I was a very passionate guy. What do you mean the passion test? I mean, I'm a regular North American. Does anybody know what the passion test is? All right. Anyways, when you go home, go on the internet and type in the passion test. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Anyway, this woman, Mrs. Atwood, who does this passion testing, found out about a fellow in India. He was born in 1963. And in 2009, she brought him over to United States. Now this fellow grew up ordinary, went to university, got a degree as a mechanical engineer. And then one night, he went to bed and he had a vision. Vision? All right. And in this vision, it said he has to change. And that in this vision, he has to do something different with his life. Now, how many people have heard of the Trevini effect? or the Trevini Foundation. There's your other homework. Tonight you go home and you type in Trevini effect or the Trevini Foundation. So he formed this foundation. And it's interesting because this guy goes around and he does blessings. He goes around to farmers' fields and bless the land. And he blessed the plants. And he has done 4,000 studies in North American universities, and they have found that these plants multiplied more than ever before. This is weird. What's going on here? He blessed the land and the land produced more. The reason I'm telling you this story is because Dr. Saini, our speaker tonight, was born in the Punjab, and everybody knows that the Punjab is the breadbasket of India. So he knows a lot about agriculture, right, Dr. Saini? He graduated with a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in botany from the Punjab Agricultural University in India. Then he went on to Australia, of all places, and he did his PhD in plant physiology. And then I read, and I wouldn't bore you with all his 55 papers and all the distinctions he's got and how many times he represented the government of Canada to India and all of that stuff. But what I would say, though, is that his research is highly regarded. What I want to know is, how does a little boy from the Punjab goes to university, goes to Australia to do his PhD, then goes to Montreal and becomes a dean there, and then goes to the University of Waterloo. Now, he lectured in Montreal, and he's fluent in French. How does a young man from the Punjab ends up in Montreal at the University of Montreal and lectures fluent in French, and then goes to Waterloo University as the dean in environmental sciences, and then gets promoted to the University of Toronto vice president, and then as the principal of the University of Toronto Mississauga campus? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Saini.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm touched. I'm touched by his words, but I'm also touched by my presence here. I haven't yet started at the University of Toronto. I will be starting on 1st of July as my wife and I and one of our daughters, one of the two daughters who still remains at home. We still live in Waterloo. Haven't yet arrived here in GTA, and we are already being accepted as part of this community. This is just wonderful. Such a joy to be here. Thank you very much. About a month back, I got an email from the wife of a dear friend of mine. He and I went to university together in India at Punjab Agricultural University, Dr. Iqbal Vandal, who is a dentist in this area. His wife, Pupinder, wrote me an email and said, there is this event in Brampton, and we would like you to come and speak there. And actually, she used the word, give an inspirational speech. And I've been thinking about that inspirational speech ever since then. And last night, as I was starting to think about what I'm going to say, I thought about something that happened at McGill University back in the 80s. There was this time when, you know, these electrical hand dryers that are ubiquitous in the bathrooms these days, they were a new thing in those days, and Hydro-Quebec was popularizing them because they wanted to sell more of electricity to unsuspecting citizens of Quebec. And so they were giving away money to institutions and so on to install these electrical hand dryers. So McGill University took the bait, and they got this grant from Hydro-Quebec, and they installed these hand dryers all across the campus in different washrooms. And there was this washroom right next to the office of the principal, McGill, and there are two universities in Canada where and the president of the university is called Principal, McGill and Queen's. So McGill University's president or principal had a washroom very close to his office, and there was one installed. One of these hand dryers was installed in that office as well. And students being what they are, and students knowing what they think of administrators, especially the top administrators in university. So somebody had a brilliant idea. So one day, someone went into that washroom, and you know these old style hand dryers, they had these big knobs in front of them. And you had to press this, and before the thing would start. These days they start automatically. So he wrote, in big letters, he wrote right above that thing with an arrow pointing to that button, press here for a short, warm, and inspiring message from the principal. So I've been thinking about this inspirational speech ever since Upinder wrote to me that she wants one. Anyway, let's get serious about what I want to talk about tonight. This is the South Asian Heritage Month. We are celebrating sharing rich traditions here. And as an educator, I started thinking about what does it take to succeed in a new world? We've all come from somewhere else. And I've been collecting my thoughts. What does it take to succeed? And I started thinking about a student of my own. She's of Jamaican origin, brilliant girl, has everything going for her in my view. Very bright. She graduated last year in the fall on Dean's Honor List. Got a degree in environment and business, which is one of the hottest degrees you can get from University of Waterloo. And most people think of University of Waterloo as engineering university, but there's a lot else that goes on in that university. Most of the students who graduate with this degree end up having jobs in hand before they even graduate. But this student of mine, let's just for argument's sake, we call her Sarah. 6 months after she graduated, she still didn't have a job, and she graduated on Dean's Honor List. So one day, and I actually have had a very affectionate relationship with her because she's just not only a brilliant student, but a wonderful citizen of the faculty. So she and I have had much to do with each other through student activities and so on. So she called me, says, Dr. Sani, I want some advice from you. I'm having difficulty getting a job. So she come on over. She came to my office, and we're sitting there talking. And I'll call her Sarah. Her name is something else. I just don't want to reveal the name. So Sarah tells me that she's convinced she can't get a job in Canada because she's black. That got me thinking.